Once I finally let myself come to terms with the fact that I had lost my faith, that I could no longer believe in this Christian God or any God at all, how did I go from spending over 20 years of my life believing that Jesus Christ came to earth to die on a cross for my sins, to pave the way for me to have personal relationship with an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving creator, to being an agnostic atheist? Long story short, after spending most of my life in church as a pastor's daughter, loving it, being a worship leader, leading missions teams, working on the ministry team, being a youth leader, I decided naturally I would go to ministry school to continue this work. I understood that Christians could be a poor representation of Jesus' love, that the church was often misrepresenting who God is. So I wanted to make sure that I was rooted strongly in my own personal knowledge of the Bible and God. I had read the Bible many times, but I wanted to truly study it, and I wanted to truly devote multiple hours of my day to spending time with this God. And through my studying of the Bible and then of other religions and history and science, and through the hours and hours of time I devoted to prayer and worship, I started to realize a couple of things. First of all, the Bible was completely falling apart in front of me. Everything I thought was true, I was learning I had been completely wrong about. I had no reason to believe that the Christian God existed, nonetheless any God at all. And all this personal time that I spent really crying out to God and seeking Him was completely fruitless. There was nobody there on the other side. I had a very one-way relationship with nothing. And so I chose to be honest, to acknowledge that no matter how hard I was trying, I couldn't believe anymore. I was actively trying to increase my faith, to get closer to God, to understand the Bible more. So I was initially deeply disappointed when I realized I could not bring myself to believe this anymore. It didn't matter how hard I tried. If I was being honest, I did not see reason to believe that there was a God, and I didn't believe anymore. So it's funny to me when Christians respond back with, well, you made a terrible choice, or you made a bad decision, and they try to shame me for my lack of belief. Because here's the thing about beliefs. Let's pretend I was hooked up to a perfect lie detector test, and someone came up to me, put a gun to my head, and said, start believing in Santa Claus, or I am going to kill you. Number one, you can bet your ass that I'm going to lie and say that I believe in Santa Claus, because obviously I would be highly motivated to continue living. But in this scenario with this perfect lie detector test, I would fail it. Because it doesn't matter how hard I try, how hard I lie, I would not actually believe that Santa Claus exists. Same thing goes for belief in a God. At the end of the day, if we're convinced of something or if we're not convinced of something, you cannot make a decision for that to change in an instant. We can influence our beliefs. We can absolutely decide how we act out based on our beliefs, but we can't ultimately choose what we believe or don't believe. It's so interesting to me that when I was a Christian, when I was an evangelical worship leader, when I served on ministry teams, when I was preaching, when I was praying for people, no one ever doubted the legitimacy of my salvation. No one ever said, I don't know if you're really a Christian. And certainly no one ever doubted that I truly believed in God, that I really did have relationship with Jesus. But now that I've come out as an atheist and said that I no longer believe in any gods or deities, I am constantly told that I must have never been a real Christian, that I never believed, that I'm a fraud. This is all called the no true Scotsman fallacy, by the way. Because as long as I was serving their agenda and believing what they believed and being a good little sheep like the rest of them, then I was praised and I was absolutely validated in my belief. And no one thought that I was being a fraud. I was given the benefit of the doubt. But now my denial of their dogma is such a threat that they have to rewrite my history. The most common Christian response to me calling myself an ex-Christian is for someone to say, there's no such thing as an ex-Christian. And that's fine, you can have that. We don't have to call me that if you don't want to. But it is the quickest way to say the following. For 25 years, I wholeheartedly believed that God, the God of the Bible, was the one true God, that He sent His Son Jesus to die on the cross for my sins. I believed that in order to have eternal salvation, I needed to confess that, and that I needed to believe that Jesus was the only way that I could be forgiven of my sins that I was born with. And I believed that a true Christian was someone whose behavior reflected that which Jesus Christ demonstrated for us. And now I no longer believe any of that to be true. So I find it very easy to just say, I'm an ex-Christian, because that saves both of us a lot of time for you to understand what I'm sure you already understand by me calling myself that.